We previously created this calendar in Google Sheets where we can automatically select the month, enter in some details on the right hand side, which automatically populates the calendar. But that only populates the calendar for this one event. So now we need to turn these single events into recurring events. But before we do, we've got a question about how we can update the calendar so that it rolls over to the next month when the first of the month hits. So right now we can select whatever month we want from the drop down here and it will update the calendar to that month. I like this option because we can then see ahead in the coming months. But if you do want it to automatically roll to the next calendar month when the month ticks over, we could delete this drop down box and type equals date. The year will be C3, the month for today, and let's just go with day 1. That gives us a date. Let's go to format. We'll update the number to custom number format, and we'll type here MMM. That gives us November here, but these dates down here aren't correct. So in this first one, where we have this date, we can delete that and just type in C2, and we'll do that here as well. Changing that to a date format, we get the 27th of October, which looks right to me. So let's lock the C2 in place and copy this across. There's the 1st of November, today is Friday, and we've got our water and electricity bills right there. So now when December ticks over and you open up this spreadsheet, this will automatically update and the calendar will update as well, but now you don't have that drop-down menu to select the next month. That's why I like the drop-down item to give us more control. Another question was, how do we fix the dates when the first of the month is on the week before the calendar exists? Let me show you what I mean. So here in the calendar, I'll just change this right back to our drop-down. We'll go to, I think it was September. We'll change this to Monday. As we can see, there's no first of the month here. The first of the month is a Sunday, which would exist before this calendar. Now to update this, the formula up the top is going to look very similar, but get a lot more complex. So first off, this line here is going to be the last line in our formula. So let's just Alt-Enter to drop it down to around about the 4th line. We'll type if and the day of all of this. Let's copy and paste that in. Put another bracket, and it's greater than 1 because we don't see 1 in the first line here. Then hold Alt and press Enter to go to the next line. We'll take all of this and paste it down there, but instead of this bit at the end where we've got greater than 1, delete that and change it to less than 7. Close a bracket, put a comma. Let's go to the next line. We'll copy all of this and paste it right there. And at the end, after the column E3 divided by 3, let's add 7 to that. And put a comma right at the end. Where we've got this less than 7, let's actually change that to say less than 10, just to give us a little bit of a buffer. We'll press Enter, we get the 26th there, and we'll copy each of these across all the way. There's our doctor's appointment for September the 1st. Everything else automatically updates. We don't have to do anything else to the others. And then if we go to November, then everything else is exactly the same. I like my calendars starting on a Sunday, so we'll just push that forward. Now with those questions out the way, let's head on to our frequency. Now I do Shaolin Kung Fu every Tuesday and Thursday. So for me, last Tuesday was the 29th and then Thursday was the 31st. 29th of October and the 31st of October. These occur weekly, and our electricity and water bills are monthly. Now let's scroll across, and we're going to use all of this section over here. First, we're just going to get some of the raw data here. So we have the description, the frequency, the amount, and the first payment. Under our description, let's type equals query and open a curly bracket. First is the description, which is right here. We'll take all of this, so taking the entire column, put a comma, the frequency right here, the amount, this column here, and the first payment, this column here. Now I did it in a weird order so that we could get the first payment at the end, which is important for the next step. We'll put a comma and write where column 1 is not null. Press Enter, and we get all of the raw data from here where there is something in the item description. Next to the first payment, we'll have the following payments. Equals if this equals weekly, then we'll take the first payment and we'll add 7 to that. Put a comma. Let's hold Alt and Enter to go to the next line. If this equals fortnightly, then let's take AJ7 and let's add 14 to that. Put a comma, go to the next line. Those are the easy ones. Now let's get to the monthly, the quarterly, and the annual ones. If this equals monthly, then we'll take the E date of this and we'll go ahead one more month. Put a comma. Let's just copy all this to the next line. If it says quarterly, then we'll add 3 months. And if it says annual, we'll add 12 months. Right at the end, double quotation marks. Press Enter. And because this says one-off, we don't get any following payments. Let's copy this down. Copy the formatting from over here, and we're going to copy this all the way across to there. So now the electricity bill is the 11th of the next month. The water bill is the 6th of the next month. My Kung Fu is 1 week after the 29th and the 31st. Now that's all good for the first column of data. Let's take on the next 2 years of data. So let's double click in here so we get our formula back. Actually, let's do it at the top so that there's more room and we can see more. Where we've got +7, let's backspace that and we'll type out sequence, 1 row, 52 times 2 to give us 2 years worth. 7 is where we're going to be starting, 7 days after this date if it's a weekly, and we'll be going up in 7-day steps. On the next one, it's going to be pretty much the same, so let's take all this and replace with the 14. Instead of 52, let's replace it with 26. 14th day, 14 days. For the next one, let's minus the 1, paste in our sequence. Now in this case, how many months are there in a year? There's 12 months. We've got 2 years worth. And we're going up from the first month, going up every 1 month. Where we've got this 3 for the quarterly, let's paste in our sequence. 1 row, there's 4 quarters per year. We're doing 2 years. We're starting 3 months after the initial date, going up in 3 months at a time. And lastly, where we have this 12, let's replace it with our sequence. Well, there's 1 period in a year, and we're doing 2 years, so let's just do 2. And that's 12 months at a time. Let's close a bracket after this 12 and remove a bracket from the end. Press Enter. We get a blank. That's what we want. Lastly, re-enter the cell and hold Control, Shift, Enter to give us an array formula. Press Enter and copy this down. So now for our electricity bill, it's the 11th of every month. Our water bill is the 6th of every month. Kung Fu is every 7 days for Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now these don't just stop here. We'll probably be entering a lot more data. These will continue down as we add more data to this. So let's click on the 7th of November, click and drag all the way to the bottom. So now when something else gets entered in, we expect $1,800 starting on a Wednesday, which was the 30th of October. And that happens fortnightly. That automatically adds this every 14 days. Now that's going to go all the way for the next 2 years. So there is going to be a lot of data here. So now we need to collate all of this data so that we can use it within the calendar. So let's highlight, let's say 6 columns, right click, insert 6 columns to the left. So here in AG, let's put in our description or our item. We'll have our amount in AH and our date in AI. Equals, we're going to start off by extracting the description, the amount, and the payments all in one go. So let's write out flatten. Our first range will be this section here. I'm just going to take this for now and we'll expand it later on. Let's put double ampersands, and between those double quotation marks, and between those we'll put a pipe. We'll connect that with AO 7 to 14. And again, ampersand, double quotation mark, pipe, double quotation mark, ampersand to connect the next part, which is going to be AP 7 all the way to 14. Press enter. We get a value because we need to turn that into an array formula, so enter back into the function. Hold Control, Shift, and Enter, and there's our dates. Now you'll see that I have zeros here. I went in and put in some zeros right here, just so that they would show up in our formula. If we didn't have them, you'll see we've lost the middle section of our pipes where we need to have those zeros. So now that we've got all of this information, let's split this into 3 different columns. Before the flatten, we'll type split, and after the flatten, we'll put a pipe in double quotation marks. This date here is just a text, just a number. It's not actually a date. So around this part here, let's put in text, comma, and because we're going to be using a query, let's put in double quotation marks, YYYY hyphen MM hyphen DD. That's how queries read dates. So this one is perfectly fine, and these ones we don't really care about. Back into our formula, before the split, let's type out query. And then at the end, before the last bracket, our query in double quotation marks will be where the year of column 3 is equal to 2024. Press enter, and that gets all of our 2024 dates. We only want November, so again, let's enter the formula, and right at the end, let's put where the month of column 3 equals, in this case, let's use 10. Now we use 10 for November because query works on 0 indexing. So 0 is January and December is month 11. Back into our formula, we just need to turn these into dynamic values so that they'll read off what we select here. And I just realized if we have only those, we won't include these dates here and these dates here because they're not part of November. So maybe another way we could do it is instead of this part here, let's say where col 3 is greater than or equal to, let's put in single quotation marks, this date here. Now this date here is 2024 hyphen 10, because this is part of October, hyphen 27. Let's put a date right before there, and that worked out pretty well. Let's put an and. Column 3 is less than or equal to the date in double quotation marks, and let's get this as, that's interesting, we have a 30th here. We'll update that in a moment. Yeah, we'll update all of this in a moment. Let's put the 30th of November 2024. So that's 2024, November 30. So that gives us all of the dates between the first of the calendar and the last of the calendar. Let's just update these quickly by adding 1 to this date here. Because it's on the last day of the first week, that'll be perfectly fine. November, Sunday. Back here, that all looks much better now. Heading back here into our formula, we just need to change this date and this date into the dates from the calendar. So this date here, we'll delete that, put double quotation marks and ampersands. Inside the ampersands, let's put the text function. We're selecting this here, comma, double quotation marks, and then the format of dates that the query function reads. Let's take all of this and apply the same to this date here, except instead of D7, we'll take it to V37. Press enter, and we get the exact same things. If we change this to December, this updates to December. We've got Christmas here. We've got our December electricity bills. These are all December dates. We even have Kung Fu on the 2nd of January, which is right here. So now all we need to do is change this formula to, instead of reading from this list here, we read from this list here. So instead of reading from X7 to Z42, which is this section here, let's delete that and we'll get it from this section here. Press F4 to lock that in place. And instead of this section here, which is these dates, we'll delete that and use these dates. Press F4 to lock, press enter, and we'll go through and copy this across to each of these. Edit, paste special, formula only, and now copy and paste. Let's change this to November because we've got a lot more things happening in November. And we'll take all of these, copy and paste. The dollar signs have gone, so let's select these, merge, copy, paste. And again, copy and paste to get the formatting right. And there we have a calendar with recurring items that go all the way through for the next 2 years of data. We can go ahead and hide all of this. Select all that, then hold Control-0 on your keypad to hide. And if you wanted to see how these checkboxes work, where we can just tick a box and it automatically adds to our Google Calendar, make sure you check out this video next.